I'm on Burntside Lake, right at the start of the Burntside River. I had been told I could access the Burntside River from here. What I wasn't told is that there's almost a waterfall coming out from the lake into the river, and private property either side of that waterfall. No sign of a portage. So, boy, this trip has been, this little jaunt has been jinxed from the from the start. First of all, I had set the alarm for 5 o'clock this morning. It went off. I turned it off, promptly went back to sleep. I had the alarm set for 5. I woke up about 6:30. Then I quickly had breakfast, got my stuff together, got in the car after loading up the canoe, and headed on over here. Drove quite a ways here and discovered I didn't remember that I forgot to bring my camera bag. So, drove all the way back to the house, picked up the camera bag, drove back down here, looked for the landing. Followed the road out and got to a point where it said it was a private road, no trespassing. So I turned around, came back, and discovered that the landing wasn't as far as I had thought it was. In fact, turns out that the place I turned around so I could go back and get my camera bag was actually the canoe, or the landing on the lake. But there weren't any signs there saying what landing it was. I mean, it was obvious it was a landing and everything, but no signs to tell you where. And of course, no cell service, so I couldn't check on my phone. Thankfully, I have a independent GPS in my car, so I was able to turn that on and verify that I was actually at the landing I was looking for. Then when I was loading up the canoe, I discovered I'd left the clamp for attaching the gimbal with the W300 mounted back at the house. And then I get down here and I find out that, unlike what I had been told, I could not actually paddle down the Burntside River from here. So it's ended up being not quite the trip I was intending. A lot later and not as far. So anyway, thought I'd give you a little bit of an update while I'm out here anyway. First of all, you may have noticed that this is not my canoe that I'm paddling. When Jim was up here back in May, he brought this canoe up with him and he decided to leave it here. He's got, I don't know, 20 something canoes, I think. Anyway, and he thought he'd leave it up here so that, one, I'd have a canoe to paddle when I was up here if I wanted it, and second of all, he'd have, if he ever comes up, which he's planning on doing sometime, but when he comes up, he doesn't have to bring a canoe up with him again. He's got one sitting up here. So I took my canoe back down to Rochester, as you saw earlier, and I decided to leave it down in Rochester. It does have, it's not quite as stable as my boat, but I'm getting used to it, and I think it's going to work out just fine. At least the initial stability isn't as stable as my boat. So anyway, I'm paddling Jim's boat instead of mine today. So obviously I'm up in Ely. I got the go-ahead from Pat, who's recovering nicely from her hip surgery, hip replacement, to come up here for about a week or so. So I came up here actually the day of July 4th. And I should say that today is July 7th. So I've been here a few days already. Not quite sure when I'm going to be heading back to Rochester. I had originally planned on going back on Saturday, but there's a couple of reasons that I might be extending that out a little bit. Don't know for sure. Anyway, she's doing fine. She's able to get around on her own. She's still using the cane, or trying to use the cane most of the time. Once in a while she forgets, but supposed to be using the cane just to keep things from getting too, you know, wait until things get settled in a little bit. Anyway, so yeah, she's doing fine, and she gave me the green light to come up here, like I said. And then one or two things have come up since I've been up here. It makes it look like I might have to stay until next week, and she's fine with that. At least the last time I talked to her, she was fine with that. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully the wind noise isn't too bad. I don't know how this camera reacts to wind. I don't have the wind reduction turned on, so winds are light and variable today, but they are getting up to 5 miles an hour, and of course on a lake they tend to get channeled a little bit more. So now we're back in a nice quiet bay, so shouldn't be too much of an issue. Now you may have noticed, and got this thing around my neck, it's not my SLR. I splurged, along with all the other splurging I've been doing lately. I splurged and I bought myself a Nikon Z50 mirrorless camera to replace my D5500. Now on my August Boundary Waters trip last year, my last day of the trip, actually when I exited the last lake, I apparently put my camera bag down a little bit hard, and I had the LCD screen pointed outwards instead of folded back into the body, and I managed to crack that LCD screen. I've been living with it ever since and been getting by. It hasn't been too bad. Makes it kind of hard to review my pictures sometimes, but other than that, it was working. But when I was out on Johnson Lake filming that trip, I was out on the water and trying to take pictures, and all of a sudden the aperture and the speed, the shutter speed, were changing without me. I was in manual mode, and they were changing without me pressing any buttons to make them change or turning any dials to make them change. And it got kind of frustrating because I was trying to take a particular picture and I was out in the canoe. So of course the canoe's moving around. I'm trying to get it framed up just right and take a picture, and it's overexposed. So change the settings, go back, you know, just change the settings a little bit, go back, try to get everything all lined up again, take the picture, and it's way underexposed. And that just kept going. It'd be either way overexposed or way underexposed. And I was having a hard time getting it to stay right where I wanted it to stay. So anyway, I got to thinking about it, and I thought, you know, it's probably, I've had that camera since 2014, which in terms of cameras and electronics is, you know, back in the Stone Ages basically. And I've been thinking about mirrorless mainly because of the reduced weight and size for my trips, and on top of everything else, this has 4K capability, which my D5500 did not. So of course I have the W300 has 4K capability. My Osmo that I'm filming with right now has 4K capability. Like I mentioned in one of my other recent videos, my weak link was my SLR. Oh, it's a nice day out here. We had a string of days where it was in the 90s. In fact, when I came up on Sunday, the high was something like 93, 94 degrees. We did have a thunderstorm roll through that night. And the next day, it was a high of 83 instead, which was a lot nicer. And then yesterday, it was cloudy and cool all day. I think, I'm not sure if the high was about 62. Oh, that felt wonderful. I was able to get the house cooled down. We don't have air conditioning in this house, one of the drawbacks. Most of the time, we don't need it up here, but boy, it's been so hot lately. This year has just been hot and dry. But anyway, today we're supposed to have a high of about 70. Tomorrow, low 70s. Overnight lows are getting down into the 40s. So a lot more typical of what you normally find up here. So I'm loving it. Boy, Sunday was horrible with a nightmare. One other thing I'd like to talk to you about. I'm not sure if you've been seeing ads on my more recent videos or not. Some of my older videos that were monetized before YouTube decided I didn't have enough subscribers to continue are still monetized from back then. Now that I do have enough subscribers in that. But my newer ones I have purposely not monetized because I didn't want to subject you to ads. But it turns out that recently YouTube changed their policy such that they reserve the right to put ads on videos that are not being monetized for their own benefit. So I know there's been other channels who have been notified that by their viewers that they're seeing ads on their videos. I have not heard any feedback from any of my subscribers, my viewers, so I don't know if it's happening to mine or not. But in any case, it definitely could happen. And again, you know, it was YouTube's decision with an ad there, not my own. So I am thinking that going forward, if YouTube is going to be putting ads on my videos anyway, and subjecting my viewers to those ads, that I might as well monetize and at least share in that revenue a little bit, make a little bit of money off of it instead of having it all go to YouTube. Now when I do that, I am definitely going to make sure that I specify that those ads only be run at the beginning, possibly end of my videos, and definitely no mid-roll ads. I find those extremely annoying, especially when I have like 15 minutes to watch a video So I'm looking for a video that's only about 15 minutes long, and I started up and all of a sudden it's full of ads. But anyway, they're annoying in other ways too, because they usually appear in very inappropriate times, for lack of a better word. So anyway, I'm thinking of doing that. Again, I would prefer to keep my channel ad free, but if YouTube is going to decide to put ads on it, then hey, I might as well make some money out of the deal. It's not going to be a lot. I mean, right now I'm making about $4 or $5 a month off the ones that are already monetized. So it's not like YouTube gives me a... It's not like I'm going to make a fortune very quickly. I'm not a Uber YouTuber who can make a living off of this. But a little bit extra cash would be nice to have. So if you start seeing more ads on my videos, that is why. I know I said in one of my previous updates that I probably would never remonetize, but conditions have changed. So that's what I'm going to do. Found out I was visited by a bear last night, because he left a little package behind. There's the bear. Actually, not such a little package. It must have been a big bear, because he left quite a big package. You know, didn't get into anything or whatever, but left evidence that he was out here. That's kind of cool. I don't mind bears coming around as long as they're not getting into things. Just have to make sure that I don't leave things out where they can get into them. As Columbo would say, one more thing. Am I dating myself or what? I have a permit to go into the Boundary Waters on August 19th. I'll let you know at a later date where that permit is for. But I'm planning another 2-week solo, give or take 1 or 2 days. I'm real excited to test out all this new equipment, or well, by then I couldn't be testing it out, but using all this new equipment, so I can do the whole trip in 4K. One thing, in addition to splurging on all this new camera equipment, camera gear, I'm also splurging on a new solar panel and power pack. So hopefully power isn't going to be as big of an issue this time around. Hopefully. The power pack I have is twice as big, it's twice the capacity of what I was using. I'm getting a 20 watt solar panel as opposed to 14 that I had before, and I'll be taking the 14 and the 20 together, so when I do get sunny conditions it should be a lot quicker to charge up. So I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully this time around I'll be able to get a lot better video. My goal is that my Boundary Waters videos can be the same quality, if not better, than what my Johnson Lake video was. I should say not just quality wise, but have a lot better content as well than what I was able to manage last year. So we'll see. Of course, I still have the problem of having enough personal energy at the end of the day to be able to camp or film more around camp and that. But yeah, as far as camera equipment and charging equipment goes, I should be in a lot better shape going forward. So I was expecting a nice quiet paddle, kind of like when I went down Blueberry Creek, but it wasn't to be. I can't access the river like I thought I was going to be able to. But anyway, turned out to be a fairly pleasant paddle here on Burntside Lake. Burntside Lake is a big, fairly large lake. It's an interesting lake because it has a lot of bays and islands and what have you. But it's also a very developed lake. There's lots of homes, cabins around the lake. Since it's a weekday, there's not as much boat traffic as there would be on a weekend, but there's still a little bit of boat traffic, and but still, it's water. It's in the north, clear water. So, not one of the best canoeing lakes, for sure, but it was a fun paddle. For a fun couple-hour paddle, so I can't complain. I won't complain. So I'm almost back to the landing now. So thanks for watching. Remember to comment, all the rest of that.
Great day.
Beautiful day. It's about time we got one of these. Supposed to get a couple in a row now too, so
Yeah.
feels more like the Northland now.
Yes, it does.